welcome to the March 6, 2019 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. At this time, for comments. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3 and 4. We have a couple of employee recognitions this morning. So we'll begin with Commissioner DeFilippo presenting one as they go with the award for over 30 years of service to Cumberland County. Wanda, please come forward.
Good morning, everybody. Today we're celebrating Wanda's 30 years of service to the county. She was hired back in January 1989 as a department clerk in elections. In December 96 was promoted to staff assistant. January of 98 was promoted to coordinator. January 2005 transferred to commissioners as a grants project coordinator. And in April 2006 transferred to Register of Wills as second deputy. Wanda, it's been a lot of places here in the county. Thank you very much for your 30 years of service. Would you like to say anything? Anyone else? Go ahead. Excellent. Lisa, you have anything?
Yes, actually, we were going over fun facts with Wanda this morning, and one of them, she said, sorry, Commissioner, but she said, when I started, she said Gary Eichelberger worked for John Gross. That's how long she's been there. And she's been on the county healthcare system since she's been 8, because her father was a county employee as well. He worked at the prison. So she has definitely grown up in the county environment, and she is an amazing team player in our office and wouldn't give her up for anything. So sorry, all your other departments, you cannot have her. She's staying with us. But she is definitely our numbers person. That's it. She can crunch numbers, and I think she spent the whole afternoon trying to find a lost 21 cents, but she found it. So Al's office will be happy that we got it. See, me, I would have said, can I just give you 21 cents? She said, no, it doesn't work that way. So she definitely has her strengths in the numbers, and we appreciate what she brings to the team and to the office. So congratulations on your 30 years.
The only other thing that disappoints me is no one has said, I can't believe they hired you when you were 5.
Yeah.
We're just letting phones lost your
Now, could everybody just kind of, just smooch it, that story. All right. Thank you very much. Give me a smile. And I'm going to take one. Smile. Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, Commissioner DeFilippo will present William Fulton with an award for his 20 years of service to Cumberland County. And Bill, Al Whitcomb, and Mike Plateau, please come forward.
Thank you. We did.
And today we also celebrate Bill Fulton's 20 years of service to the county. He was hired in February 1999 as accountant 1 in the controller's office. The following year was promoted to accountant 2, and in July 2006 promoted to accountant 3. Bill, congratulations. Thank you for your 20 years of service. I'd like to say a few words.
Well, I think if you would say to someone that you're going to be doing accounting for 20 years, they would look at it as a jail term. It's actually, I enjoy doing what I do, but most importantly, I enjoy the people I work with and the county employees. It's just been a pleasure to be here 20 years and look forward to many more.
Guys, anything?
I wanted to say how lucky the taxpayers of Cumberland County are to have so many good, conscientious employers. And I'm especially fortunate to have a good staff in my office, especially Bill Fulton. And I'd ask Mike to give us some comments about Mike, or about Bill.
Talk about me later. I told Bill when Wanda was up, I said, in 10 years, hopefully that, that's you. First started out his youthful looks. In 1999, when Bill started here, he was just 9 years old, so that explains and I love that. During Bill's time in Cumberland County, one of his most notable accomplishments, for which we're all in the office, I think, most proud, is his qualifying and running in the 2018 Boston Marathon, which he did. Very noble job. It was just above freezing temperatures, wind gusts of 20 to 30 miles an hour, heavy rain, notable accomplishment.
Well, thanks for putting us to listen to me complain about all the training going into it.
And it's beneficial to have such a fit employee. If he would ever call in and say, I can't make it in, my car broke down, and say, finish the rest on foot. So it's beneficial to the taxpayer as well. What most do not know about Bill's position is handled and mastered all of the complex over the past 20 years. And there's been many accounting pronouncements, accounting rule changes that have come out. When Bill started in 1999, there were just over 32 actually, accounting rules. Since then, GASB 90 has come out, so it's tripled the number that he's had to deal with. So what that means, on a practical standpoint, he's had to wade through some pronouncements up to 300 some pages, and then with additional interpretive guidance. Things that none of us want to ever have to do. So I commend him, and he's done that very successfully. Thanks to Bill's efforts and implementations, the county's audit fee has remained flat in absolute terms for since the mid-1980s. Quite an accomplishment. Again, while bringing our audit adjustments down to 0 in most typical years for us. One of his most notable accomplishments has been in the implementation of the GASBs. Bill's had to wade through actuarial reports for the county. One of them, in his quest to understand it thoroughly, saw an adjustment on the accounting measurement that he delved into, found that it was an anomaly that talking within the office might apply to the funding model as well being used, which didn't match the actual economics of the plan. We ended up taking that to the retirement board, saving the taxpayers $8 million over 15 years, pretty significant. That's a difficult thing to achieve in a county, Pennsylvania County. We look forward, thank you, Bill. We look forward to another time.
Thanks, Mike.
If you can just move
Here, move
over.
over.
We've got a wonderfully large group here, that's great. And let me take one more. Okay, give me a smile. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye, guys.
What are we going to talk about, Mike?
Moving on to agenda item 5, Becky Shaw with us today to discuss the Cumberland County Housing Authority Consolidated Plan. Becky?
Good morning, Commissioners. The Cumberland County Housing Authority is currently preparing its annual plan for the program year July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. Each year, the Housing Authority is required to receive confirmation that the annual plan is consistent with the jurisdiction's consolidated plan. The Cumberland County Consolidated Plan identifies maintaining affordable housing as a priority need, and the availability of housing choice vouchers and public housing throughout the county meets this need by providing working families, seniors, and those with disabilities to live in decent, safe, and sanitary housing that is affordable to their families' budgets. The redevelopment authority is asking that the Board of Commissioners certify that the Housing Authority's annual plan is consistent with the county consolidated plan.
Any questions, Commissioner? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 6, contracts and grants, and I will turn it over to Flo.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Commissioners. We're going to move on to agenda item 6, Roman numeral 1, A through C, are the existing contracts, contracts extensions, or addendum with no additional cost or increase to the county. They include the following departments: the District Attorney's Office, Victim Services Grant, the Sheriff's Office Agreement, and the Public Safety Agreement. Do you have any questions or comments or concerns? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendor services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. And we'll start with the Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center Agreement. So Tammy and Bob?
No, Tammy is supposed to be on the screen. I can explain. We are required to have our residents avail themselves of services such as podiatry, which is foot care, eye care, and dental services. We currently have 2 services in Claremont that offer those services. This is another vendor to come on board to give our residents more choice. And this service actually will be a little easier for us to use because they do their own billing for our residents.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Robert.
We'll move on to Lisa Ryder. We'll be discussing the agreement for children and youth. Lisa?
Actually, Jamie today. I'm going to switch. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
This is our contract for our community services group chariots. It's one of our foster care programs that we use. We don't use them real heavily. They do offer one program that we use, individualized foster care. They also have CRR, where we would just pay the room and board for that service as well. They are getting a 10.39% increase in their foster care rates this year. However, they have not had an increase since 2012. And they are still comparable within the limits of the state allowable.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Lisa? I'm sorry. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you. Next, I'll call on Ryan Simon to discuss the agreement for drug and alcohol. Ryan?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an addendum to the Substance Abuse Services contract for their medication-assisted recovery services. We would like to add a second coordinator to that contract, and so the addendum is increasing the max from $118,000 to $141,500. Any questions?
Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Ryan. John Locke will be joining us, BTC, to discuss the direct energy agreement. John? Can you hear me?
Yes, Commissioners. This is a direct energy contract, and it was set up in 2005, and it's a revenue generating contract for running our generators and taking power off the grid, and to avoid blackouts. We've probably acquired over $250,000 since 2005 being in this program, and it runs from May to September, and anytime there's a high heat day or a very cold day like today, they may ask us to run our generators to take power off the grid, and that's pretty much what the program consists of.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, John. Next
Do you want to do my other ones, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, we could do your others. We can move on.
Okay.
Yeah, while you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, John, you want to go ahead and talk about your authorized advertising for bids?
Yes, this is a request for approval to bid the paving for 1615 Ritter Highway. That's due to a couple different things with the septic situation and the parking lot being damaged. And the other one is the barn parking area where we're doing the recycling right now. Requesting approval to advertise for bids for both of these projects.
Any questions on those, Commissioners?
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Okay, next we're calling Helen Sherman to be discussing the agreement with Marquette Associates. Helen?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a new contract for,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don, you still with us?
Yeah, sorry, John.
John?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, you still have two agreement capital project requests. Do you want to go ahead and discuss those as well?
Yes, yes. This is for Siemens, the CKO software. Back in 2005, we set up a computer-based program to handle our equipment and to be able to control our equipment remotely. And this was an Apogee system. The software is no longer going to be supported in September of this year. And they're offering a new software package called the CKO software with more bells and whistles and better graphics. And requesting approval for this capital project.
Commissioners, any questions regarding that capital?
Is this a one-time cost?
It is. It is a one-time cost for software. The maintenance is on another contract which expires in 2020.
Any others? Okay, John, you can go on to the next one.
I don't think there's anything else.
Should you do?
What do you have on the agenda?
Did you do MDJ Beckley?
Yeah, I sent an email to the Commissioner's office to remove that one because
Oh,
I am
okay.
still waiting on figures from the court system. So I'd rather remove that from the agenda and wait till the next board meeting until I get some more exact figures.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll call on Holly about Marquette Associates.
good morning, Commissioners. This is a new contract for the county to engage in investment management services with Marquette Associates for the county's 457B plan. The services that they'll be providing would be system review, development of investment policy guidelines, manager selection, and assistance through the negotiation process with the new vendor for the 457B program. Any questions?
Hearing none, thank you, Holly. We'll move on. Kirk Stoner will be joining us video teleconferencing to discuss the HRG agreement. Kirk?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an agreement with HRG for our Ramp Bridge Preservation Project. Ramp Bridge is our last covered bridge in Hopewell Township. It was the subject of an accident last year. We have an insurance claim that was secured for that, so we're going to be making repairs from that accident as well as doing a full rehabilitation on the bridge. This is the engineering agreement with HRG to perform their engineering and construction services as part of the project.
Is there any questions? Hearing none.
Kirk, do you want to go ahead and discuss your re-advertisement for bid for recycling and waste?
Sure, that's good, thank you. So for recycling and waste, we put out a bid previously for maintenance activities on our trommel screen and 2 leaf turners that are part of our yard waste disposal program. We received no responses, so we're going to go back to the well here, hopefully get another response. We're requesting authorization to advertise again for that same contract.
Any questions for Kirk on that? Thank you, Kirk.
Next, I'll call on Sue Carbone to discuss the 2 agreements for MHIDD. Sue?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So the first contract is for early intervention. It's for Leanne Broadbent, who is a speech therapist. It's an amendment to her contract for this fiscal year. She's picked up additional children, so we're increasing her contract by $2,995. These are state dollars. The second contract is with Bold Incorporated. It is a new contract because Bold is a new provider. So their contract will be $61,370, and again, these are state dollars.
Okay. Is there any questions for Sue? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Sue. Stephanie Williams will be joining us video teleconferencing to discuss the 5 land partnership agreements. Stephanie?
Good morning. These agreements are formalizing grants that were approved back in September by the Board of Commissioners. So we have a contract with South Middleton Township for $15,000, and then 2 sets of agreements with Lower Mifflin and New Cumberland. And just to add a little bit of an explanation to these, because they're a little different, the first time a community participates in our grant program, we require an intergovernmental agreement. And for Lower Mifflin and New Cumberland, they are newbies to the program. So there's both an intergovernmental agreement just to say we want to participate, and then there is a subcontract for the actual project. So the project with Lower Mifflin is $10,000 for the ordinance, and with New Cumberland, it's $5,000 for their revitalization initiative.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Stephanie? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 8 and call on Eric Radovich to discuss the credit application for the Bureau of Justice Services lab. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. It's a credit application for $3,000 for a company called Amino Assay Corporation. It's just a new company we can buy amino plates for one of our instruments in the lab to do drug testing.
Any questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric. Agenda item 9, we have additional capital project requests for discussion, and I'll call on Brad King, who is joining us, BTC, to discuss the nursing.
Morning, Commissioners.
Hey.
Morning.
To discuss the nursing home capital project request. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, sorry about that. It's kind of hard to hear sometimes. We're asking approval to purchase 2 new full lifts and 2 stand-up patient lifts for the nursing department. Recently, we heard of another facility that had an injury due to a lift breaking, and it was past its expected lifespan. We actually have the same lifts, so we're being proactive. We want to take these lifts out of service. We have to replace them. The amount that we asked for approval was $21,686.94 for capital. The stand aids are below the capital price, so that price for those 2 are $6,069.98 for a total of $27,756. It appears we asked for 3 full lifts. It looks like we're going to need 2, so I'm sure we're not going to get to this 27,000 figure. It's going to be closer to the 21,000. But we would like to move ahead with these new lifts. Do have the features, added features in some of the lifts that we have that will make it easier on the nursing staff's backs as they positioning residents as they lift them. Is there any questions? It is also going to be purchased through our normal vendor, Direct Supply, which is a Marinette pricing, so we don't have to get competitive quote. Any questions?
No, thanks.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Eric Radovich again to discuss the capital project request for the district attorney's office. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. It's a capital purchase request for 2 vehicles to total $84,452.42. That's the cost of the vehicle.
Sorry.
That's all right. I love the music. That's the cost of the vehicle.
Just to sing the rest of it.
Yeah. Cocktail on that. It's the cost of the vehicle, the radio outfit, the lighting, the equipment box that we put in the back. I shopped around. These are the best prices I get on those contracts. They're off-the-shelf vehicles. They're pretty standard.
What's happening with the 2 vehicles that are going to be replaced, 2008 Impala, 2005 Impala?
They will go, I'm gonna offer them to John to see if he wants them for motor pool, and if not, they'll go be sold.
Are they not capable of doing what needs to be done?
The ones being replaced based on age, and no, they are not. They're not suitable really for doing forensic work.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, I had one. We were just looking at the numbers yesterday relative to capital project costs. Is this within what was budgeted? The
Yes.
total? It is?
Yes.
Because I noticed we had a couple of vehicles that actually came in higher than what the estimate was. So I just want to make sure these are within the estimate. So what we had budgeted. I'm looking at Danny there.
I didn't
Putting her on the
look at the
spot.
specific capital project cost, but this is kind of the standard price.
You
And
said
it's
that-
part of their plan, we knew it was coming, they have a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
They replaced 2 last year. These 2, plus there's 1 more coming.
And then we're done.
Okay, fine. Again, when the estimates are put together relative to what the costs are going to be, I'm assuming we scout around and try to see what the costs are going to be before we, and this is based on a contract we have, or how are these?
Purchase on CoStar's contract.
Okay, CoStar.
Yes.
All right.
And when I make the estimate up in the fall, I do the best I can. Prices aren't out on the vehicles when we have to submit the paperwork, so we do the best we can to try to get it as close as you can do it.
Yeah, it's just what I saw, was looking at yesterday, it's just a little off, from where.
And we do expect that when we're doing the budget, their estimates, we don't put all the work into price checking during the budget because things change until you actually purchase. So we kind of put a best guess out there with a little bit of research behind it, but not a full-fledged.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
Questions?
Okay, next we have a capital project for the court and J offices for copy replacement. Mark Adams will address that.
Good morning, Commissioners. The MDJ offices each have a copier, scanner, appliance that is over 10 years old. They're failing and we need to replace those. The new equipment is going to have a smaller footprint, some better performance, and it'll actually have some full network capabilities. So today they can't scan to their F drive, they can't scan to email, they can't do faxing through this product. So this will be kind of an all-in-one improvement to how they're operating in their office regarding faxing, scanning, and copying. The individual units are only $1,500 a piece. There's a $700 2-year extension on the service agreement, but when you throw it times 10, you're talking $22,000. So, but very efficient upgrade, well needed for the DJ offices.
Any questions from Mark?
Did we look at possibly leasing this versus?
The volume's not there for leasing, so if we buy them, we get a longer, these will probably last another 7 to 10 years. When we lease, we're only talking 3-year lease agreements, and they're usually higher priced.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, how old are the copiers that are currently using?
They're over 10 years. I don't have an exact date on that. I can research it if you'd like me to get.
And they don't work anymore, or we just?
They're not. So when you scan, so there's performance issues with them. The rollers are going bad on them. The quality of the images scans are the imaging device that's inside it is going bad. We're actually paying more maintenance to actually repair these than we are to go out and buy something new.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we move on to agenda item 10, and I will call Commissioner Eichelberger to discuss the recommendation for appointment to the Economic Area Development Corporation Board. Commissioner Eichelberger?
Yeah, this is fairly easy. I think most of you are familiar with this issue already, but Jim Carci, our executive committee's secretary, had to resolve work commitments. So the personnel committee of the EC made a couple of inquiries among some of our other board members, and Michael, of course, has been on the board for maybe 2 years or so. fairly new, but very engaged, great choice as far as I'm concerned. So they'd like to put his name forward as Mr. Ritchie's replacement. They want to have that in place as soon as possible. Of course, we're still in the Cape search, so executive committees are very vital to that. So I'd like for us to take action on that Monday.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichenberger. Agenda item 11, I'll call on Holly Sherman to discuss the recommendation of Tabitha Kuhn to benefits and risk manager, as well as discussing the ADA requirements for the county. Holly?
Good morning. Per the Department of Justice settlement that we agreed to about 2 years ago, the county is required to appoint an ADA coordinator. It was determined that the benefits and risk manager would be the most suitable position within the county to handle that responsibility. And so we need to update the ADA grievance procedure, the notice, the policy, and the request for accommodation form to be in line with the recommendation that Tabitha Coons, the county's current benefits and risk manager, be appointed to that role.
Any questions for Holly? Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Next, I'll call on Bo to discuss the letter of support for the CCIDA grant application.
Hi, Commissioners. This was an earlier letter that's been revised. We had tabled it back in February 7th. And we're waiting to hear Lemoyne Council sentiments and such, so we've incorporated that in the letter. If anybody has any questions.
No, I'm
Good to go.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, the key here is that the Lemoyne Borough Council would like to see if this is going to be developed to retain the facade of Lemoyne Middle School, if at all possible and if at all practical. And so our letter kind of like conforms with the borough's request as well. So I'm okay with it. I think it's important that the applicant, in this case, Katie, also takes note of the interest of both the county and the borough with respect to the retention of the facade of the Lemoyne Middle School in any development project that goes forward. But I'm okay with supporting it and take action against Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next, move on to the Commissioner's liaison report. We'll begin with Commissioner DeLeo.
Yeah, I have an update here for the library board. Under the governor's proposed budget, our library system can expect level funding of state aid libraries and to the capital area library district. The Cumberland County Library System is projected to receive $1,058,000 from the state, and the capital area library district is projected to receive $381,000. The lease for the move for the library to 400 Bent Creek was signed by all parties, so that's good to go. And build-out plans have been approved and should be completed by May 15th, 2019. And the contractor there will be R.S. Mallory. That's it for liaison reports, but I do want to report, I did report to my colleagues earlier in the week that I represented the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners at a meeting this past Saturday. The CV School, Cumberland Valley School District Board of School Directors Intergovernmental Meeting. It was a very well-attended meeting. All the townships in the school district were represented either by their township manager or a host of township commissioners and supervisors. Representatives from Silver Spring were there, Hampton Township, Middlesex, Monroe Township. State Rep Mark Glein was there as well. We all gave updates as to what's going on in our respective municipalities in the county. And the school district did a very good report of their current projects, their new schools that they are building, their financial condition. And Dr. Witham, as always, did a good presentation on the Cumberland Valley Workforce Initiative. He recognized the county and our Economic Development Corporation several times in his speech. And just a note, Cumberland Valley, as you know, Cumberland County in general is growing. Enrollment in Cumberland Valley School District is averaging just a bit over 2% per year. It is expected during the 2022 and 2023 school year that the middle school enrollment will be at 111% of capacity, and high school enrollment at 113% capacity. Overall, very good meeting, very well received. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Herzog.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Coordinating Committee met Friday, February 22nd. There was an update on a number of transportation projects of interest to Cumberland County, albeit a slow go. PennDOT has once again promised that there is forward movement on our request for the installation of cable median barriers to guard against deadly crossover crashes on Interstate 81 throughout the county. We're now being told that most of the work should be completed by August. Also, we were told that the next step forward on the development of an Interstate 81 improvement strategy, what is being called a master plan, is now which is as a result of the most recent PennDOT widening study. Hopefully this development of the strategy moving forward is going to be getting underway shortly. Of course, as we all know, nothing will happen until financing has been identified for the improvements, and without a new revenue source, we're probably destined to hear more talk before there's any definitive action. The Erford Road Bridge Replacement Project is now slated for completion in September instead of April. Rich Farr from CAT announced that the transit agency under his leadership is planning to roll out more fare types, including mobile passes and smart cards this spring. Finally, the finishing touches are being put on the Capitol Corridor Camp Hill Route 15 32nd Street traffic safety study. I've asked to receive a copy of that study as soon as it's complete. We'll share it with my colleagues as soon as I get it. And as this corridor outside of the interstate is one of the most heavily traveled in our county and deserves renewed focus on the need for safety improvements. I attended the Cumberland York Area Local Defense Group Steering Committee meeting in Hamden Township last Thursday morning. There was discussion about next steps with respect to the now completed joint land use study surrounding the Naval Support Activities Facility in Hamden Township. A subcommittee is being formed to look at prioritizing infrastructure-related initiatives. It was reported that our local defense group secured $83,000 in grant support from the state, one of the largest grant awards of any county in the state. There was also discussion on the status of finalization of the Carlisle Airport feasibility study with Jonathan Bowser suggesting that there should be more meat on the bones regarding potential future usage by the military operations in the area, most notably the Army War College and AAC. I'll be attending the 911 statewide advisory board meeting tomorrow at Pima. Big item up for discussion and important for our legislature to address is the sunsetting of the current law that was enacted in 2015, Act 12, which provided our county and all the counties across the state with additional resources to operate our public safety answering points, our 911 centers. That $1.65 per communication device fee goes away June 30, unless the legislature reenacts it. And just so that everybody understands how important that is to Cumberland County, that's not quite $2 million more than we receive annually prior to than what we received previously. And I think all told, as my understanding from our finance department, we have received since the implementation of that additional fee well over $5 million. That's money that is not coming out of the pockets of our property taxpayers for the operation of our 911 center. So that's an important focus coming up here, and hopefully we can play a role through the 911 advisory board and encouraging the reenactment of that legislation. And on Friday morning, I've been asked to give some opening welcoming remarks at the Housing Summit that the county's Housing and Redevelopment Authorities is holding in Dickinson College as part of its development of a new 5-year consolidated plan as required by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, as we heard from Becky Shaw this morning. The summit, which is being co-hosted by the Partnership for Better Health and Fulton Mortgage Company, is expected to focus on housing laws, anti-discrimination efforts, and there will also be a discussion of solutions to the issue of affordable housing. I'm looking forward to hearing those solutions that are going to be discussed. Kirk Stoner, our Director of Planning, is one of the panelists, and if my colleagues would like to join me, it's being held at the Stern Break Room at Dickinson. Registration is at 8:30 a.m. and the program is supposed to get underway at 9 p.m. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Yeah, just briefly, Kirk was online earlier, as you know, he already handled the rebuild, the yard waste equipment, so that kind of covers that angle on things. Of course, we continue with the CEO search for Katie, the Economic Development Corporation. We're making steady progress on that. I did meet as well, as you are aware, we have a new chairman of the board of directors, Crystal Quinlan, and we all met with her when she first came in. I had an orientation meeting with her as well last week to make sure we have a good, solid handoff there. And so we've got enough transition issues we're dealing with, so we want to make sure that we covered a lot of bases on that in terms of future directions with Katie. So that was very useful. She's a great addition to the board and will do a good job as chair. I also had going to have a conversation with our friend over here, Mr. Brennan, in regards to bylaws change. We had a brief discussion on some things that might make transition issues a little easier in the future as needed. So we're going to continue that, and we just need to schedule time to sit down and talk about some of those things. So, that's everything on Katie. Just wrap real quick here. We had our meeting on the 21st for the MHIDD board following. It was, of course, following the last workshop, so I'm bringing this to you now. Just a couple of items from the director's reports that I thought were worth passing along. On the MH side, of course, there was a lot of discussion regarding the behavioral health carve-out issue that was featured in some of the local media today. We've all been very engaged in that. So considerable discussion on that and what the impacts would be. On the MH side, specifically, the dollars that are most prominently in need there are crisis intervention and psychiatric rehabilitation. They would be very vulnerable under that proposal. So a lot of discussion, a lot of concern around the table on that, particularly a great deal of interest on how this proceeds, as of course, as on the commissioners. So that is a significant issue on their table. The other items I wanted to mention are the Cumberland Perry Suicide Prevention Task Force, which we've had some discussion on over the past 2 years or so. The task force continues to meet monthly, third Thursdays, and the Youth Advisory Board has been trained in the QPR methodology. That's the question, persuade, and refer. That's the outreach tool that's out there to try to reach young people in addressing potentialities there as we witness a nationwide uptick in suicide at various age groups, but particularly among our youth. So the feedback from the most recent meeting was very positive regarding the training. The students were also provided with several hundred Pulse Task Force bookmarks that they are to share with other students in their respective schools, so that their knowledge of the resources that are out there for anyone who's contemplating suicide would understand that there's a different direction to turn. So outreach continues on that very actively. That task force is very heavily engaged. So the representatives from the task force are also providing that question, persuade, refer training to the county's aging office, the AAA here for Cumberland County, so that they can address the issue as well among more advanced age population. So there is a trainer course in that regard scheduled for April 16th. They continue to provide that training free throughout the community as well to address this significant uptick we've seen. So that is being actively addressed. On the IDD side, real quick, regarding program development, I wanted to mention that we had, as you will all recall from being here at the time, the implementation of the block grant providing for agencies to retain a percentage of this 5% of unallocated dollars for program monies on the state portion of the allocation, if they can identify a need and then demonstrate to the Commonwealth that there's a legitimate need. That was put into use again this year. There were some leftover dollars on the IDD side, and they received permission to apply those dollars, and they're going to be applied toward an additional respite home for individuals with IDD and autism, and to also expand the Pathways Academy program. That's instructional support for individuals with IDD and autism who are seeking to move into their own housing arrangements, and those monies will become available immediately. That is the program development will be completed within a year, and it's anticipated then that they'll be able to sustain those initiatives on the current waiver funding and the base funding thereafter. So just let me be interested in seeing another application of that benefit to the block grant that was passed. So good to hear those kinds of things. The IDD Autism Task Force, which is a family-led, sort of unofficial entity that's been meeting for years, has recently met with legislators to discuss the equitable allocation of consolidated and community living waivers for Cumberland area individuals with IDD. This is sort of an echo of other issues we've discussed even just in the last few days in regards to the funding formulas and the lack of equity that particularly hits growing counties with a growing population that commensurately have growing populations of special needs individuals, and they're not receiving any additional resources on those because of the state's method of allocation being quite candidly outdated. So they're seeking to engage the legislators on a discussion on that, which I think, as we know, has been done repeatedly. The feedback from the legislators that the legislators that they have met with is they're going to continue to study it and see if there's any options for leveraging some additional dollars. We applaud that effort, of course, but has been not necessarily fruitful in the past. So we wish them luck with that. So we are, as you all know, the fastest growing county in Pennsylvania with respect to population, but we happen to also be third from the bottom of the list when it comes to waiver allocations in that regard. So a brief summary was provided on the governor's budget proposal on the IDD side. The budget includes a $15 million initiative that would provide services for individuals with IDD and autism that would allow for 765 individuals on the emergency waiting list to receive services through the Living Waiver Program, and provide community services to 100 individuals with unanticipated emergencies through the Consolidated Waiver Program. Let's see. The advocacy groups also are trying to discuss with the legislators some of the provision issues in regards to direct service providers who currently are earning 40% less than the standard definition of living wage, and that the turnover and vacancy rates that they have endured as a result of that low pay rate. The only other item was in terms of referrals. I think you've heard Sue mention this, Sue Carball mentioned this before. Early intervention, of course, is an entitlement program, so as early stage children demonstrate any evidence of these types of disabilities, particularly reading and intellectual development, the Commonwealth mandates that they be provided with a screening and a determination of whether they are eligible for direct services or not. And of course, the number of requests for that, particularly as the awareness or incidence of autism increases, we've seen a huge uptick over the recent years in terms of the referrals. The latest numbers here, this is regarding July to December of 18. So far, our department has received 432 referrals. And for the same period last year, that number was 386. So from 386 to 432. So easily on track to exceed the total number of referrals last year, continues to move upward. So obviously there's concern about how all of that is to be handled from a financial standpoint as well. There's been no significant increase in that budget for roughly 10 years. So obviously if you have rising caseload, flat budget, there's going to be some delta there that needs to be met. So it continues to be a concern. That's everything.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichenberger. Agenda item 14, I would like to report that an executive session was held on the following day, 2019, February 27th at 2:30 p.m. regarding personnel issues. I would like to request an executive session be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel issues. Agenda item 16, we do have one item under other business for discussion, which came in late yesterday. It's a letter agreement, interim addendum to the program management agreement for the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and Joan is here to discuss that. Joan?
Good morning. Hopefully I can sound intelligent about this because it was just basically dumped in my lap. So it's really just an addendum. Apparently back in September of 2017, they did a management evaluation on the program and determined that one piece regarding food safety and handling, they wanted it to be in the current contracts, which aren't coming due now again until 2021. So this is just an addendum to add that verbiage into the current contracts until it can be a permanent part of it in 2021.
And Jen, is there like a date that this is due?
Yeah, it has to be done by March 22nd. They want it back by then.
Any questions? Thank you, Joe. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board? Okay, hearing none.
Same request, but and I realize I didn't, give you a heads up earlier, but, just one item. In fact, I don't know if we want to get into too much discussion about it this morning, but we're aware of the fact that there's a dispute or question with respect to the rezoning of the parcel in the borough of Camp Hill, which has created some citizen controversy. It's relative to a development proposal. And the issue has to do with whether the parcel in question was rezoned properly, in particular, whether the borough followed the law with respect to submitting its proposed rezoning to the county planning department, county planning commission for review and comment, which is required by law. The issue, generally speaking, I think we understand this. All of these zoning decisions, land development plans, are the responsibility of the local municipality, the borough in this case. However, there is a requirement in law that says that when you have a county planning agency, as we do, with a bunch of professionals, that you're supposed to submit these proposals to the county planning department for consideration. We've apparently received the development plans, but we were never notified, apparently, of the zoning change. So rather than discussing this further this morning, I'm going to ask that our solicitor and our director of planning further examine this issue with respect to how this development proposal is moving forward, whether the county needs to do anything. I mean, in particular, I would like to know how the borough intends to cure this issue. And if we have one municipality that essentially didn't follow these rules, then my concern is why did any of the other municipalities in our county have to follow the rules? So I would just like our planning department and in this case our director of planning and our solicitor to examine this issue and get back to us with a suggestion on how we might address it. As a board.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we are adjourned.